and welcome to Sip Sip Knit. This is a YouTube channel in which I will be talking about my crafty endeavors, mostly knitting. And this is Luna. She is my rescue pup I've had for about 2 years. She's wonderful and sweet, and she loves to be right by my side, so I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of her. Coming to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've been here since 2005. I originally grew up in West Virginia, but I've been living here in Pittsburgh for quite a few years. My partner and I just bought this house last fall. We live here with our 2 dogs. I also have a corgi named Yoshi, and we have 2 cats, Bee and Pepe. And you'll probably see some of those making appearances at some point as well. Who knows? My day job is in clinical research. I've been working remotely pretty much since the start of the COVID pandemic. I was at a nonprofit oncology research foundation for about 2.5 years, and about 4 months ago I started at a new oncology research organization, and I'm still able to work full-time remote, and it's lovely. It gives me lots of time to spend with my animals and a lot of flexibility to spend the commuting and getting ready time on other hobbies such as knitting, crafting. I'm also an avid runner, particularly trail running. I love to get out and bike with my partner and our friends. We like to do occasional bike packing trips and short touring adventures. Like to hike with my dogs. Go have some drinks at the local craft brewery, which there are many here in Pittsburgh. The name of this podcast got its name by a couple of my other knitting friends who said that Sip Sip Knit would be a really great name for a podcast, which, sure, yeah, it's kind of a play on Sip Sip, Slip Slip Knit. And actually it became the name of a knitting and crafting night that I started hosting at a local brewery that's about a mile or so from my house, called Necromancer Brewing. It's a really cool place, really nice vibe, great beers, but I've started hosting a monthly makers night where people can just come, have a drink, socialize with other makers, and it's really a good time. The next one is coming up on Thursday, July 28th, I believe. I will post that date and time in the show notes, along with the address of the brewery. So if you are local here in the Pittsburgh area, feel free to join us. That would be great. The last few times we've gotten a crowd of anywhere between 6 to 10 makers. We just sit and chat, and it's a great time. And it's not just knitters. There's people that bring their crochet projects, their macrame projects, whatever you feel like bringing, cross stitch, weaving, spinning, feel free. Speaking of Sip Sip Knit, I'm going to show you what I'm going to be cracking open in just a moment. This is from Weathered Ground Brewery, which is a West Virginia craft brewery. We were just in the Dolly Sods and Davis, Thomas, West Virginia area of the state last weekend for a gravel bike race. So we stopped by a really cute coffee shop in Thomas, West Virginia called Tip Top Coffee, and they have a lot of local beers there in cans. You can just build your own 6-pack or 4-pack. So I thought this one sounded interesting. It's from Coolidge, West Virginia, and it looks to be just it's described as a laid-back pale ale. So, and I love the hops in my beers, so it sounded like it was up my alley. So, give it a try, and we'll get into the knitting chat. That is very tasty. All right, so I guess we should start with some recent finished objects. I have been participating in Summer Sock Camp, which is a knit along that's hosted by the Crazy Sock Lady. And I believe it started at the end of May, beginning of June, but I believe this is also the 3rd year she's hosting this knit along. And it's just a really fun, laid back knit along situation in which you can just have a lot of fun knitting as many or as few socks as you want, and you can also enter your finished objects into the knit along for some prizes. And I know there's details about all of that on her Ravelry knitting group and of course her YouTube channel. So I'll show you my socks. I've finished 3 pairs so far since the knit along started. This is Pepe, one of the kitties. Since I'm talking, he decided he wanted to come hang out. Anyway, here's the first pair, just a pair of shorties that I used some leftover yarn I had on hand. This minty speckled yarn is from La Bien-Aimée. I believe it's the Jasper colorway, which was a collab with the Grocery Girls. And then the pink speckled, it has like some blue gray speckles there going on. It's from a local dyer who's really awesome, Ex Libris Fibers. Rita, it's actually also the contrast color in the shirt I'm wearing. But anyway, she's really great. She has such an eye for color and her colorways are just amazing. But anyway, first pair of socks, I used the Coffee Talk sock pattern by Tracie Millar, who is one of the Grocery Girls, but I did a shorty version. So it has a little bit of contrast there. Love it. And then the second pair of socks I finished for Summer Sock Camp are these DK weight socks. One is on the blocker so you can see the detail a little bit better. This cabling on the side. Then here's just the other one. But I used a Zauberball DK sport weight-ish, and I used patterns called Laid Edges, and the name of the pattern designer is escaping me, but it was a really fun pattern. It was intuitive and easy to memorize, this little cabling thing on the front of each side, and then just stockinette in the back. And then it was the Eye of Partridge heel flap gusset. They fit really well. Twisted rib cuff. They're going to be really cozy for fall and winter. But not right now. It's really hot here in Pittsburgh. And then the third pair that I finished for sock camp, I actually just finished these and put them on the blockers yesterday. But they're just a scrappy pair of shorties that I kind of used a couple of different patterns and did my own thing. I did this broken seed stitch on the top for texture, and then I did the toe up, and for the heel I did a Flegel heel instead of like a peasant heel or whatever, and then 20 rows of knit 2 purl 2 for the cuff. Not really cut all my ends yet, so disregard that. But for these, I used all my leftovers from an Advent fade set I got last holiday season 2021 from the Green Button Jar. I had used a sweater, or I used the Advent to make a sweater and just faded all the colors into this really cool fade slash stripe thing. With just a basic raglan sweater. I used a Lapoof pattern by Hedgehog Fibers. But anyway, I had all of these leftover minis along with this blue color that I'd used for another pair of socks last summer. So that frames and is every other stripe with the Advent minis. So I really like them. They're fun and bright and scrappy. Another recent FO that I just finished probably a week or 2 ago was the Ranunculus I was kind of hesitant to knit it. I just wasn't in love with it and didn't really get the hype until I knitted it. And now I love it and I want to make another. But this is my Ranunculus sweater. I did a short sleeve version. There's now 2 different necklines you can choose from, a wider or a higher neckline, and I opted for the higher neckline. And I used a fingering weight held double with mohair, so you can kind of see the halo of the lavender mohair there. But the fingering weight is from Ex Libris Fibers. It's a wool and silk blend, I think. I can't remember what the base is called, but it was one of her Wraith Tea, kind of one-of-a-kind colorways that I got 2 skeins of a couple years ago. And yeah, I held it double with mohair from Primrose Fiber Company. It's this like really bright lavender, so it gives it this whole like lavender hue along with the variegated fingering. Love it, and it fits really well. Very happy with it. So yeah, definitely planning on casting on another one of those soon. It knits up so quickly. The yoke is really fun to knit up, and it was just a really good experience. I was pleasantly surprised, I have to say. And then going back to what I'm wearing, this is a sweater I finished for my Make 9, where I chose 9 patterns that I wanted to try to accomplish this year in 2022. So this is by Caitlin Hunter, and I used Woolfolk Tinned, I believe is the base, in like a dark gray black kind of thing. And then I think I had mentioned the contrast colors from Ex Libris. This is her artistic name, but the proceeds do go to GASP, which is a charity that supports efforts to decrease or improve the air quality and decrease the air pollution here in the Pittsburgh area. Hi, Pepe. Yes, I know. You want all the attention. All right, another sip of my beverage. Okay. So now whips. I guess I will start with the summer sock camp whips. The first one I have is this sock, which is, the pattern is the DRK everyday sock. I'm using yarn from what was To the Max fiber, which is Jody from the Grocery Girls, but I believe it's now Frankie Gray Fibers. She has this sock set called Vineyard. It's really nice, like speckly. It has both kind of purpley plum and champagne and greenery, so it does definitely remind you of a vineyard. And then I did some like fun little athletic type stripes up top. And then I'm currently on the second sock, going toe up with about 40 some rows on the foot. And these are being knit on 9-inch circulars, some small circumference circular from Chalgu. And then my next whip for sock camp is I have one finished one right here. It's a little wrinkly because it's not been on the blocker, but I'm using the String of Lights pattern by Sock Witchery, which is pretty simple, really nice, a nice fit. And I really like how there's this a little bit of garter ridge along the heel flap, but it's a simple texture. It creates a little bit of extra stretchiness. I really love it. And I'm on the second sock. This one is cuff down, and I'm using Magic Loop for this one. So yeah, about 50 some rounds in past the cuff. on the current one, but this is also an ex libris fiber, or yarn rather. This one is called Mrs. Dalloway. It's based off of the book by Virginia Woolf, which I've not read, but I do have on hold from the library. So I'm hoping to get to actually read it. When I read that, I actually maybe heard of it, but obviously hadn't read it yet. But I think based on the description, it would be one I'd really enjoy. So this is also, in addition to summer sock camp, I'm participating in one of the local yarn shops, knit-alongs. So here, a little outside of Pittsburgh, in Oakmont, PA, there's a really great yarn shop called Yarns by Design, and they have collaborated with Ex Libris for a July knit-along. So as long as you bought the sock yarn or sock set there, she had stocked them with some quantity of sock yarn back in June, and it sold out really quickly. But as long as you had purchased the yarn there, you can participate and tag, I think on Instagram or most of the other social, with the Yarns by Design. I don't remember the sock knit along hashtag, but it's on their Instagram. But you can then be entered for a raffle with your finished object, finished pair of socks. Okay, and then another whip that's actually been in a little bit of time out because I started focusing on some other whips, but I started this a few weeks ago when I was headed to California. So it was some plain knitting. I got a little ways in it, but it's another sock I'm doing toe up, just like a vanilla sock. But I am using the sock set that was by Fashion School Dropout. And I picked this yarn up at the Knot House the weekend of Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. It was actually a collaboration with Black Pearl Magic. She was there selling some of her wonderful, really cool project bags and the sock sets and some other pins and accessories. So I snagged that sock set, and I'm still in the first sock, but I really like how the colors are really cute, and I think it's called Yarnable is the name of the colorway. And yeah, just some like soft striping there, some bright speckles. And I think with my leftovers of this yarn, which I'm sure I'm going to have after this pair of socks, I'm going to make a little pair of baby booties for a friend of mine who's expecting this fall. She had reached out to me and asked if I could knit small baby socks or hats. So I'm going to try to make a little pair of booties and maybe a little bonnet or hat if there's enough left over. But I think that this will actually make a really cute color for baby accessories. All right, and I do have a couple more whips. It's like so many whips right now. So this one is, I guess I should be telling you about my project bags, but really cute project bag here from Stolen Minutes. This is the Vertices Unite Shawl by Stephen West. So I am on the third triangle part. So have this, it almost kind of looks like this Star Trek kind of shape right now, but I'm on this like little triangular wedge right here in the middle. And this middle is just all one skein from hedgehog fibers, but these two sections are both striped. This one, I know the blue is from Knit Picks, and I don't remember what the lavender purple one is from. It was a mini that I just randomly picked up. And then this one has the green colors from Knit Picks, I believe that's Palette. And then the peachy pink rose gold type color is from Manos del Uruguay. It's their single ply. It's like a wool silk blend. It's really nice, very soft. I had made a pair of socks using that and had a bunch of leftover. But I'm also going to be using a little bit of this leftover yarn, another Ex Libris colorway from one of her book club colorways last year. That's going to be striped with one of the colors. Yeah, the green is going to be another section, but yeah, it's the Knit Picks palette, and blue is Knit Picks Stroll. But I haven't been working on that very much at all. I started it back in May, I think, around the time we were about to go to Maryland Sheep and Wool, because I know I brought that on the trip to work on, but I've been so preoccupied with socks and garments that I've not been working on it. Another project that I was commissioned for from my friend Tony, who's a big Doctor Who fan. He really wanted one of the giant long scarves that the character in Doctor Who plays. I'm not super familiar with the series. I've only watched like a handful of episodes, so I had to do a little bit of research to realize what he was even talking about. But when I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I can. And the internet had a wealth of resources, including the actual schematic of stripes and how many rows of each color from BBC directly. So that was really cool to find that and be at least mostly authentic, at least as per the number of stripes in each section. But I'm about probably a quarter of the way through, maybe a little bit longer. I really just kind of started back up on this, and I'm trying to do about a stripe per day, unless it's like a bigger stripe, and I might do half of it, but it's already getting pretty long, and it's garter, so it'll block out even a bit longer than what it currently is, but it's super fun, just color blocked scarf. I'm using a couple of different yarns that I picked up from Hobby, however you say it, and I tried to get as close to the original colors as I could using some of the online internet resources that help clue me in on which colors I should be using. But I showed him a work in progress picture yesterday, and he's loving it so far, so I can't wait to see him actually wear it. He's really excited about it. Okay, and then my last whip is a garment, and I started this a couple weeks ago, around the time I finished my Ranunculus, but I'm knitting the Soldotna crop, which was another thing that was on my Make 9 for the year. Just such a cute pattern, and I know there's been like so many iterations of this that are just wonderful, but here's mine so far. I'm using a mix of blues, so this is actually kind of a minty sky blue here, and then this like Grillo-y color, and then this like blue indigo variegated, and then the main color is going to be this like medium to dark blue with these little blips in the light blue and golden color, and then black for the neck, the sleeve cuffs, and the bottom hem will also be black. This is just about all magpie fibers in the Swanky DK. I had gotten a mystery set of 4 skeins a while back, and when I got them I was like, this would be perfect for Soldotna. And then I added in this yellow that I found at Maryland Sheep and Wool, and it is from Rosy Green Wool. Yeah, so I am really loving how it's knitting up. The pattern is the yoke was very fun, with not a lot of long floats to have to deal with, so that's the type of color work I enjoy, where I'm not super worried about my tension. And, I tried on just before I split for sleeves and it looked pretty good, so I'm just a few rows past where I split for sleeves last night. So maybe I'll finish that this weekend, who knows. My partner is away on a backpacking trip until Monday, so it's just me and the dogs and cats, so I might get a lot of knitting done. We'll see. If it's nice, I'm sure I'll be doing some outdoorsy things too, but who knows. Also a lot of knitting. So that is it for knitting whips. I do have one spinning whip. I am brand new to spinning. At Maryland Sheep and Wool, I invested in a drop spindle after testing a few at one of the booths, and they gave me a brief tutorial. I still have no idea what I'm doing, but it's fun to play around. But so I got a couple of little batlings from the Green Goat Ranch tent, booth, whatever. Melanated Boho Bay had some of her fiber bats and batlings and things like that, but I have spun up about half of one of the batlings and I just emptied my drop spindle. It was getting too full, but this is what I have so far. It's just kind of very multi-textural, thick and thin, but you have like these yellow shiny bits, like metallic shiny bits with the light blue, and this is the fiber it's coming from. No idea what I'll do with this yarn. One idea I had, and I'll just have to see how it works up, is doing a granny square pillow type thing and doing the front of it with this as my granny square, but I don't know. We'll see what else I can think of. But it's super cool. It's fun. I have another batling that I'll try out at some point, but spinning is still very new to me, so I don't have I don't invest a whole lot of time in it yet, but I can definitely see how it gets a little bit addictive to just to be making your own yarn. It's really fun. So as far as upcoming projects, I will definitely be casting on a few more pairs of socks. I'm going to try to get one more pair off the needle before I cast on another one, but I think my next one is going to be the Curio socks by Andrea Mowry in these two colors. This one is from Yarn Hero. It's like a mix of like mauve and plummy purple, kind of like a mill spun type of deal. And my framing color, I'm going to use this like almost like gray aubergine type color. It kind of has a little bit of a purpley hue. Yeah, I think those will go pretty nicely together. Yeah, I know, Pepe. Another garment that is in the plans is I bought a sweater's quantity of this Brooklyn tweed shelter from another local knitter. There's several more skeins here, but I think I'm going to do this colorwork yoke sweater by Isabel Kramer called Humulus. It has these hop flowers across the yoke, and since I love beer, love hops, I think that's appropriate. But I'm not sure which of these three colors I want to have for the contrast yoke. This is my first choice, this Spin Cycle Dream State. So this Brooklyn tweed is called Storm Cloud. It's like a grayish with some browny tan bits. And this has just like some pastel-y stuff. It's Verba Volant. Or this from Yarn Hero. I don't know what the colorway is. This was from Maryland Sheep and Wool. It's like their mill ends, like leftover stuff. And then this is my last pick. I don't know that it'll be contrasty enough. I think it might be a little bit too close to that gray, but this is another Spin Cycle Dream State in Wololo. So yeah, it's probably going to be one of these two. Not sure, still deciding. But that will be definitely a fall winter sweater. Not something I'll be wearing right away. Another thing that I'm planning on casting on soon is potentially another Ranunculus. Not sure what yarn yet. And I was looking at these two skeins that I had laying around in my stash, and I kind of want to make something that stripes these two together. It's like this yellowy orange, really bright from Dye Lot Studio. And then this is just Hawthorn from Knit Picks, but I think these would go together nicely with that like orangey yellow. But I want to do something like a striped tee or something like that. I'll have to find a two skein project, but I was just kind of looking at these two in my stash today and like, what can I make with this? And then another one I don't have the yarn handy for is the Sorrel sweater by Wool and Pine Designs. That was on my Make 9. I do have some fingering and some mohair, so that'll be probably a project within the next couple of months. And then a few other sock ideas, but nothing super firm. So anyway, I think that's all of the crafty stuff I have to talk about. So other life stuff is, I did mention I recently went to California, so I'm big into running and trail racing, and I participated and finished my third 100-mile race. I know I say that to a lot of people and they're like, wait, how many miles? Yes, 100 miles. It was my third time completing the distance, and it was actually at a race in California that's very difficult to get into. It's one of the older trail races, and it has a lottery. You have to get qualifiers, and you can gain the number of tickets by entering each time you get a qualifier, thus increasing your odds. But I got in with only 2 tickets. I only had 2 qualifiers, so the odds of me getting in were so slim that I wasn't even watching the lottery when it was happening last December. I had a bunch of people texting my phone like, oh my gosh, you got into Western States 100. That's crazy. I was like, no, there's no way. But turns out my name was pulled. So I registered and we went to California. It goes through the Sierra Nevadas. It starts in Olympic Valley, which is very close to Lake Tahoe, and goes through 30 miles of the high country there at about 8,000, 7,000 feet of elevation, and then undulates down into the lower country foothills closer to Auburn. It actually ends in Auburn, California, on a local high school track. Yeah, I finished. It's very, very hard, very, very hot that day, as it tends to be for this race. The high country areas were cooler, but they were very exposed. The sun is very intense at higher altitudes, so even though it was cooler, you still felt the effects of the sun. And then you go through these really hot canyons in the hottest parts of the day, and then you get a little bit of reprieve overnight. But since I was not moving at top of the front of the pack pace, I had to go through heat the next morning, and I finished at about 10:30 a.m. on that Sunday, about 29 hours, 29 and a half almost. And it was about 100 degrees, I heard, at the time I finished. So Yeah, it was a lot, but I had a really great group of friends that went out, and my partner was part of my crew. He was one of the 3 people that paced me. You're allowed to have a pacer at mile 62, but I actually was able to pick up my partner at mile 55 since it was past 8 p.m. It just depends on what time of day it is. If it's a little bit later, you can then pick up a pacer. So I was able to have him run with me for 6 or 7 miles, and then 2 of my other friends finished out the rest of the race overnight and in the next morning, and it was really great. But here's the belt buckle you get for finishing. If you finish below or faster than 24 hours, you get a silver buckle, but since I finished within the allotted time frame, I still got this gold buckle. It's really cool. It's sort of a traditional thing with 100-mile or some of the longer ultra endurance trail races, is you get a buckle for finishing. So yeah, that was really fun. And I have some gifts that I'm going to be putting together today to give some of my crew as thanks for traveling out there and helping me finish my race. And then it's Friday, so I'm going to be probably laying low for the rest of this weekend. I'll probably get outside with Luna on the trails at some point, and maybe on Sunday with another trail running friend. And then in a couple weeks, I will have the Sip Sip Knit Maker's Night at Necromancer. I will put the details about that in the show notes again, along with my Instagram info, my Ravelry info, and all the patterns and yarn that I mentioned that I can remember. I will also link below. And if you made it this far into my video, thank you for joining. I hope to have maybe a few of my knitting friends join me for some upcoming episodes and help me chat about their finished objects, their whips. So hopefully it won't always be a one-person show here. But anyway, yes, thank you for watching, and I hope to have another episode for you soon.